Israel is a nation on edge. Hundreds of thousands have taken to the streets, their voices a chorus of anger and grief. The trigger? The horrific hostage crisis, the recent discovery of bodies in Gaza. These protests are unprecedented in scale and intensity. They are a visceral reaction to the government's handling of the crisis. From north to south, cities have ground to a halt. The message is clear. The people demand action, accountability, and above all, the safe return of their loved ones. Netanyahu, once seen as a strong leader, now faces accusations of prioritizing political survival over the lives of citizens. The public demands answers, and the pressure on Netanyahu is immense. Each day that passes without news of the hostages deepens the anguish. The uncertainty is agonizing for families, a constant weight on their hearts. The demonstrations are a release valve for this collective grief and fear, a way to channel the pain into a collective demand for action. The protests are a stark reminder of the fragility of peace and the human cost of conflict. They are a desperate plea for leadership, for a solution that brings an end to the violence and ensures the safe return of the hostages. The world watches, hoping for a resolution that will ease the suffering and bring a glimmer of hope to a nation in turmoil. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu finds himself at a crossroads, his leadership facing an unprecedented test. The hostage crisis, with its heart-wrenching details and mounting public pressure, has exposed cracks in his image of strength and resolve. His handling of the situation has drawn sharp criticism, eroding public trust and fueling calls for a change in course. Central to the criticism is Netanyahu's unwavering commitment to military action against Hamas. His reluctance to engage in ceasefire negotiations, seen by many as the only path to the hostages' release, has sparked accusations of prioritizing political expediency over human life. Adding to Netanyahu's woes are the whispers of discontent within his own Likud party. The hostage crisis has exacerbated existing tensions, with some members questioning his judgment and leadership. Netanyahu's legacy, once seemingly secure, now hangs in the balance. The world watches, waiting to see if he will rise to the challenge or succumb to the immense pressure. Across Israel, a singular demand echoes from the streets: ceasefire. It is a cry born of desperation, fueled by the agonizing uncertainty surrounding the hostages' fate, and a profound yearning for an end to the violence. The public, weary of bloodshed and loss, sees a ceasefire as the only viable path to peace and the safe return of their loved ones. The recent discovery of the hostages' bodies in Gaza has only intensified these calls. For many, a ceasefire represents more than just a pause in the fighting. It is a beacon of hope, a chance to create space for dialogue and diplomacy. The belief is that a cessation of hostilities would create a more conducive environment for negotiations, allowing for humanitarian aid to reach those in need. The calls for a ceasefire are a testament to the Israeli public's resilience and their unwavering commitment to peace. The world listens, hoping that their pleas will be heard and that a path to a just and lasting peace can be found. As the crisis in Israel unfolds, the international community watches with a mixture of concern and apprehension. The hostage crisis, with its potential to further destabilize an already volatile region, has galvanized global attention, prompting urgent calls for de-escalation and a peaceful resolution. The international community's message is clear: the violence must stop and the hostages must be returned. World leaders from capitals across the globe have voiced their concern over the escalating violence and its devastating humanitarian impact. The United Nations, through its various agencies, has amplified these calls, urging all parties to exercise restraint and seek a negotiated settlement. The international community's attention is also sharply focused on the plight of the hostages. Their capture, a violation of international law, has drawn widespread condemnation. Governments and international organizations alike have called for their immediate and unconditional release. The world waits, hoping that diplomacy will prevail and that a brighter future awaits the people of Israel and beyond. Section 5. Scars of Conflict: The Emotional Toll on Israel. The ongoing conflict has left an indelible mark on the Israeli psyche, a collective trauma that runs deep. The hostage crisis, with its visceral reminders of vulnerability and loss, has exacerbated this emotional toll. The constant threat of violence, the fear that permeates everyday life, has become a heavy burden to bear. For those with family and friends directly affected by the hostage crisis, the anguish is even more profound. The social fabric, already strained by political divisions and economic anxieties, is fraying further. The uncertainty, the fear of what tomorrow may bring, has created a climate of mistrust and suspicion. Yet, amidst the pain and uncertainty, there are also glimmers of hope. The outpouring of support for the hostages and their families, the countless acts of kindness and solidarity, serve as a powerful reminder of the resilience of the human spirit. The shared grief, the collective yearning for peace, has the potential to bridge divides and foster a sense of unity. The path forward will be long and arduous, but by acknowledging the emotional toll and fostering dialogue, Israel can begin to heal and rebuild a sense of hope for the future. Section 6. Fractured society divisions deepen amidst crisis. The hostage crisis, a tragedy that has united Israelis in grief and anxiety, has also laid bare the deep fissures that run through their society. Long-simmering divisions, rooted in political ideology, religious beliefs, and socio-economic disparities, have been thrust to the forefront. The protests themselves, while united in their demand for the hostages' return, reflect this underlying fragmentation. Differing views on the government's handling of the crisis highlight the lack of consensus on the best way forward. These divisions are further exacerbated by the polarized media landscape, with news outlets often catering to specific audiences. The political arena, always a site of contention, has become even more fractured. The government, a coalition of disparate parties, struggles to present a united front. The challenge for Israel is to bridge these divides, to find a way to come together as a nation and chart a path forward. Section 7. Hostages' fate. A harrowing uncertainty lingers. As days turn into nights, the fate of the hostages held in Gaza remains shrouded in a harrowing uncertainty. Their absence hangs heavy in the air, a constant source of anguish for their families. The lack of information, the sporadic and often conflicting reports, only amplifies the anxiety. The discovery of the bodies, a devastating blow to the families and the nation as a whole, has cast a long shadow over the situation. The uncertainty surrounding the remaining hostages is almost unbearable, a heavy weight on the hearts of those who pray for their safe return. The hostage crisis has become a focal point for international concern, a humanitarian crisis that transcends the political complexities of the conflict. The calls for their release, for their safe passage home, grow louder with each passing day. It is a call for compassion, for empathy, for a recognition that beyond the political posturing, there are human lives at stake. Section 8. Charting the course, navigating the path forward. As the dust settles on the initial shock and the protests subside, Israel finds itself at a critical juncture. The hostage crisis, with its far-reaching implications, has exposed the fragility of peace and the deep divisions within Israeli society. The path forward will be fraught with challenges, requiring difficult choices and a delicate balancing act. The immediate priority remains the safe return of the hostages. The government must explore all avenues, diplomatic or otherwise, to secure their release. The international community can play a vital role in facilitating dialogue and applying pressure on all parties. Beyond the immediate crisis, Israel faces the daunting task of addressing the root causes of the conflict. The cycle of violence, fueled by mistrust and anger, must be broken. This will require a commitment to dialogue, a willingness to compromise, and a recognition that lasting peace can only be achieved through a negotiated settlement. The path forward will not be easy. It will require courage, leadership, and a willingness to make difficult choices. Israel, with its history of resilience, has the capacity to navigate these turbulent waters and emerge stronger. The world watches, hoping that wisdom, compassion, and a shared commitment to peace will guide Israel's leaders as they chart the course ahead.